Leaders from the United Kingdom and European Union say they have reached a deal on Brexit. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker described the deal as fair and balanced for both sides. However, it still needs ratification from both the EU and UK parliaments. And Northern Ireland's DUP, which props up Boris Johnson's Conservative government, says it still won't support the deal. Boris Johnson has just tweeted, "We've got a great new deal that takes back control. Now, Parliament should get Brexit done on Saturday so we can move on to other priorities like the cost of living, the NHS, violent crime and our environment." While European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker has tweeted, where there is a will, there is a deal. We have one. It's a fair and balanced agreement for the EU and the UK, and it is testament to our commitment to find solutions. I recommended that hashtag EUCO, that's the European Council, endorses this deal. Well, Lawrence Lee is standing by in Brussels, but first we'll go to Rory Challands in London. And Rory, a lot of talk now about these deals. We've heard the tweets from Boris Johnson and Jean-Claude Juncker, but of course it still has to be ratified and the Democratic Unionists are standing in the way. Take us through that.
Yeah, this is all sounding and looking very familiar, isn't it? Because we have been pretty much in this position before. Theresa May got a deal with the European Union, brought it back, and it went down like a lead balloon in Parliament time and time again. Well, Boris Johnson is now having his go, and already the signs are looking worrying for him because the DUP, as you say, the Northern Irish party that wants links between the mainland UK and Northern Ireland to be as close as possible, is saying that it cannot support this in its current form. In a statement from them this morning, they said, as things stand, we can't support what is being suggested on customs and consent issues, and there is a lack of clarity on VAT issues. We will continue to work with the government to get something that works for Northern Ireland and protects the economic and constitutional integrity of the United Kingdom. So this is a sign, I think, of the difficulty that Boris Johnson is going to face in getting this deal when we get to have a look at it and see what it entails through the Houses of Parliament. That is a debate that is scheduled to take place on Saturday. Not very much time for all the MPs in the House to scrutinise this properly and work out whether they're going to give it their consent or not.
Rory, I just want to drill down a little bit further into the objections from the Democratic Unionists, because that whole question of Northern Ireland and a potential hard border and what that would mean has been crucial to all of this. Is the concern here from the Unionists that this would bring, in fact, Belfast closer to Dublin? And a second point to that, just how much power do they have standing in the way? Is it enough to scuttle this?
Well, they have less power than they used to because under Theresa May's government, they propped up that government with a consent agreement in the House of Commons. Now that Boris Johnson has no majority anyway in Parliament, they, as the DUP, have less bargaining power, but they still do have a significant amount of clout, and their words, their objections or their approval of any deal will carry weight because it will influence other MPs, particularly MPs
just going to cut in there, sorry, Rory. We just need to break away there. Barnier now, of course, the negotiator, the chief EU Brexit negotiator, is speaking. Let's have a listen.
Le texte juridique dont il est question
legal text
soit publié.
That's involved here should be published. It has actually been published by us, so it is available to you as of now.
Nous avons donc trouvé un accord.
We have arrived at an agreement with the British government on an ordered withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the European Union and also on the framework for our future relationship. This is the result of intensive work on the part of the two negotiating teams, and I'd like to thank them in person. Obviously, the British team and our own team for their tenacity and professionalism. I'd also like to point to the results from a European side on the basis of permanent dialogue and real confidence that's been built over the last 3 years with the 27 member states, with the European Parliament. I can tell you, as you know, we really have built our positions together on our side and this new agreement. This agreement has been agreed between negotiators with President Juncker this morning with Prime Minister Johnson. He concluded this, and he will present this later on at the European Council of the 27. I would also like to offer my personal thanks to him for his confidence over the last 3 years. I'd like to thank President Donald Tusk on the Council side and his whole team. That is who I wish to thank. This text should provide legal certainty in every area where Brexit, like any separation, creates uncertainty, and in particular, and first and foremost, for citizens, for European citizens in the United Kingdom and British citizens living in one of our member states. These citizens have always been and will remain our priority, that of member states, and I can also tell you that will be the case for the European Parliament. Uncertainty for those citizens has been going on for too long. Thanks to their agreement, their rights will at last be guaranteed on a sustainable basis. We also have certainty for a whole host of project leaders receiving funding from the EU budget in the 27 member states and in the United Kingdom. That is because, thanks to this agreement, financial commitments already undertaken between 28 will still be respected and honoured between 28. We also have certainty for all individuals and businesses affected by all the other issues involved in the separation. At the first press conference I gave 3 years ago, the social, human, legal, economical, technical consequences would be numerous. So for all these various individuals and businesses concerned by all these other issues from now on, but there'll be more certainty. I'm thinking of Euratom, I'm thinking about protection of existing intellectual property rights, protection of geographical indications, protection of personal data. Lastly, this proposal also covers the transition period, which was requested by the British government and which will last until the end of 2020, so 14 months from now, and that may last 1 or 2 years further, subject to joint agreement between the United Kingdom and the European Union.
Ladies and gentlemen, the UK government has wanted to open one point in the withdrawal agreement, a key point, the question of the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. Throughout these negotiations, the EU and the UK were fully committed to protect peace, to protect stability on the island of Ireland. We had to reconcile two objectives. First, include a legally operative solution in the withdrawal agreement that would avoid a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, preserve the whole island economy and protect the integrity of the single market. Secondly, a point extremely important to Prime Minister Johnson and the UK was that Northern Ireland remains in the UK's customs territory. Discussions over the past days have at times been difficult, but we have delivered, and we have delivered together. The solution that we found rests on 4 main elements. Number 1, Northern Ireland will remain aligned to a limited set of EU rules, notably related to goods. This means that all applicable procedures on goods will take place at the points of entry into Northern Ireland and not across the island. For this purpose, UK authorities will be in charge of applying the Union's customs code in Northern Ireland. Number two, beyond applicable procedures, there is also the question of customs duties. Northern Ireland will remain in the UK's customs territory. It will therefore benefit from the UK's future trade policy. But Northern Ireland will also remain an entry point into our single market. So, what have we done to square this circle? UK authorities can apply UK tariffs on products coming from third country so long as those goods entering Northern Ireland are not at risk of entering our single market. However, for goods at risk of entering the single market, UK authorities will apply the EU's tariffs. Number three, this night and this morning also, we were working on the issue of VAT. It is an important subject to avoid distortion of competition within the single market for goods. On this point also, we have managed to achieve two objectives: maintain the integrity of the single market, but also satisfy the UK's legitimate wishes. And finally, number four, Prime Minister Johnson and the Taoiseach wanted to ensure long-term democratic support for the application by the UK authorities of relevant Union rules in Northern Ireland. 4 years after the entry into force of the protocol, the elected representatives of Northern Ireland will be able to decide by simple majority whether to continue applying relevant Union rules in Northern Ireland or not. This democratic support is a cornerstone of our newly agreed approach. Why? Because this newly agreed protocol is no longer to be replaced by a subsequent agreement between the EU and the UK. So, it makes sense to ensure consent. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously, when discussing Northern Ireland, we talk about the economy, about technical matters, about goods. But let me say very frankly that for me, since day one, since 3 years, what really matters are the people of Northern Ireland and Ireland. What really matters is peace.